Hey guys, welcome back to another Fly Tying Tuesday with AvidMax. My name is Max, and today we're going to be tying the Radiation Baetis. Super effective pattern, anywhere in the Rockies here, and you can tie it in a bunch of different colors and sizes. It's a great dropper fly when you're doing the dry dropper. It's good in your nymph rig. It's got a lot of versatility, and you can tie it in a lot of different colors and sizes. So today I'm going to be tying on the 1150 Daiichi in a size 14. I got a Firehole 2.5 mil tungsten bead on there, and I got my hook oriented in the vise like this for tying in the tail, and then once I tie in the tail I'll adjust my hook again, and it just makes everything a little bit easier. So to start out, go with the ultra thread in the 70 in a brown. And I'm going to start on my shank of the hook here. This fly is made and designed by Shea Gunkel, Umpqua tyer. He's got a couple other patterns out there like the splat roller, and it's a great fly. It's effective. So got some henback here that I've been picking at. Pinch that and tie that down onto the shank. Keep working down into the bend there, making sure I keep all those fibers together. And bring my thread up just a little bit. And then I'm going to take some small copper wire, and I'm going to tie that in prior to snipping out my excess material here. Work that all the way down to my tail. And now I'll snip out my excess. Flatten out my thread a little bit, and I'll work back up the shank of the hook here, making myself a little bit of a taper. So now I'm going to reorient my hook in the vise, and just makes that tail, uncrowded on the vise here and doesn't damage it. So build up a little bit of a taper. Flatten my thread out again. And I'll probably only get about 4 or 5 turns with the wire as my ribbing. Make sure it's even with a nice taper. And I'm going to make nice even segmented wraps with my wire. So my thread is backed up to the wire there. Tie that. Secure that in there, and then I'll helicopter out my wire. Once I got that in there, I'm going to take some Pearlesent tinsel in the wide, and I'm going to tie that onto the top of the shank, making sure that it's nice and even. Work it back to my wire. And got my Fluorofibre in the brown. About 10 to 12 strands of that. And I'm going to secure that also onto the top of the shank here, make a couple loose wraps, and then orient it so it's right on top. Back that all the way down to my tinsel, and then I'll snip out my excess up front here, and I'll do a quick whip finish. Snip out my thread, and I'm going to switch over to another thread here, 70 in the fluorescent orange, and that's going to make a nice little collar behind the copper bead. Secure that on there. And for my doubling today, I'll be using Hareline ice dub in the Peacock black. So this particular variation, you know, they use the Peacock black, and then they'll use also an ice dub in like the orange. Just kind of depending on your fishing situation, I guess. This is a little more natural looking, a little darker. The hot spot on there. So take a little bit of my Swax, grab a little bit of my Peacock black, dub that on my thread, and start wrapping this on there right up to behind the bead. So I'm going to fold over my Fluorofibre, make a couple wraps behind, and then I'll part them so I got about 6 on each side so they're even. And then instead of tying them both in individually, pull them both back at the same time and hold them against my vise, and I'll make some wraps to make sure those stay back and build my little collar here. Well, I got a start of a collar, and those are pretty even on both sides. I'm going to take my tinsel, fold that over, secure that with a couple of wraps behind, and then I'll go over the top of it, which really secures it in there. I'll make some thick wraps there to build my collar. And I'm going to take a little hit of my Loctite super glue, my thread, make a couple wraps, get that thread coated with the super glue, and then I'll do a whip finish. Snip out my thread and clean up one of these Fluorofibres. It's bugging me. So got those evenly split. I'm going to trim out my Flashback, and then I'll get in there with the UV prior to snipping out my Fluorofibre. Just makes it easier to coat it without any of those getting caught in there. Nice glob on top, kind of spread it the length of the body. Helps add durability to your fly, also kind of gives a little bit more sparkle flashback. We got a nice little patch of that on there. Hit that with my UV light. Then I'll snip out my Fluorofibre, making my legs. This is kind of a good replacement to the classic pheasant tail. You know, it's got a lot of similarities, just no pheasant tail in there. Good Baetis imitation. other fibers. There you have it. Radiation Baetis.